Howdy folks, today we're doing quite an involved process. It's not difficult, but it's a bit involved. It's the first time the sun's come out in weeks, and you can see by the state of the bike, it's just been raining. It's just been raining, and this is the first time the sun's come out. Look, there's a shadow. Look at that. Shadows. Anyway, we are replacing all the locks on the Royal Enfield Classic 500 because we have all these different keys for different locks, and obviously the previous owners have broken stuff and changed stuff, and one of the things that's important to me is the fuel cap here, and you can see the cover is broken. It lets water in through here, and what it does is it eventually leaks in, and it leaks into the fuel. So you'll have to forgive the filthiness of the motorbike. I am going to wash it once the rain is done, but for now we are going to start replacing things. So the first thing I'm going to do is replace the fuel cap here. I've already kind of undone it, and that just basically involves two flat blade screws. They are machine screws, and I've got them sitting right here on the chair, and I'm going to replace that first. So let me do that, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. I am going to give this area a nice wipe and a clean away from the fuel hole, just to clean especially this part here where it's usually undercover. Next thing I'm going to do is probably the most hardest part of this, is removing the ignition. I'll show you how to do that, but basically it'll remove this nut here, and then I'll go in underneath, either from the back or from the front. I'll remove the headlight, and it's a plug, and it plugs straight in, and you feed it back through the inside and put this nut back on. Now the new ignition did come with a black nut. I'm possibly going to use that, but I'm going to see what it looks like, because aesthetics are important just as much as function, and I'm going to see what that looks like. Otherwise I'll use this old nut on here as well. The other involved bit is going to be replacing the steering lock, which means turning the steering fully to the right and getting access from the other side, and I'll show you that when I get to that part. Then the rest of it's pretty easy. There's going to be there's a lock for the tool compartment, there's a lock for the airbox, and then on the other side, see if I can manage, there's going to be a lock for here as well. And also on these older Classic 500s, there's a lock for the battery cover as well. The new ones don't seem to have that. So I'm going to go through that process and show you step by step. Alright, new fuel cap is on. I will say the quality of the fuel cap is significantly lower than the original one. Although this is an original Royal Enfield item, they don't make them like they used to. And I'll show you why. For starters, this is a little bit harder to open, predominantly because the gasket on here is significantly thicker than my one. But look how much free play there is in that. The original one does not move anywhere near that. In fact, it moves kind of like that. So it's significantly looser. But the cap itself, right now, as it stands, it requires a bit of persuasion, I guess, until that gasket settles in a bit more. So, but once it's on there, it's pretty tight. Alright, I got the old ignition out, which is the one on the right hand side, and you can see the first problem we encounter is the one on the left, which is the brand new one, is the wrong size. Now, that is not a showstopper, but what is a showstopper is this. This is the original plug. This is the brand new one. You can see a significant difference. So I might have to do some modifications, or we have to take it back to Royal Enfield and get a replacement, which I waited about 6 months for this to arrive. So we might have to resort to snipping my plug and fitting it onto this new one, which is a damn shame. Alright, so what I've decided to do, rather than muck around with the plugs and ruin things here, let's keep those okay and intact. I'm just going to unsolder things from here, and I'm going to solder these wires where these ones are. Okay, so there are numbers on here. You can see a 4 and a 5 there and all of that. I'm going to try to see if I can decipher the ones that are on here, and hopefully we can match them up so there's no problems electrically at all. Worst case scenario, won't do anything or hurt anything. Literally, this is just the switch that turns things on and off. Alright, so I've soldered in the old plug onto the new ignition, and here's where I test it out. So I'm going to try to do this one-handed. So let me grab my brand new keys. Can I do this one-handed? Okay, so worst case scenario, we might blow like a fuse or something, but reality is that's not the end of the world. Hey, there we go, it's going in. All right, so excuse the dirt again, the rain has killed this. So let's turn the ignition. All right, I'm seeing a light, indicators, high beam, low beam. It's pretty bright out here, so you can't quite. It is on though. Okay, and the lights. There we go. Horn. Yep. All right, let's start it up. So kill switch on. Engine lights off, fuel lights off. Easy. Alright. Beautiful. Well, let's turn the ignition off before we short out anything, and I'll install it. Alright, next up we're going to change the steering lock. So let's get into that one. Okay, brand new steering lock is on there. Here's the old one. So that goes with the mismatch key. And I put this key in. Actually, I might have to do it from the other side. So let's give that a go. In we go. Turn the steering lock. Just, there we go. Oh, sorry about that. And we're locked. We unlock the key and we can turn the handlebars again. So far we have done the petrol cap, the ignition, which we needed to play around with and modify, and the steering lock, which was pretty straightforward. We have 3 locks left: battery, electronics, toolkit, airbox. I'm just going to get those done in one hit and show you what it looks like at the end. Alright, so the battery cover one's really simple. All you basically need to do is get a screwdriver in here and pop this mounting lock out in this direction, and this should just fall out and we can pop the new one in. Alright, so new lock is in place now, and I've put the little locking tab back in. Notice that none of these new locks come with any of the hardware. Remember, the petrol tank cap did not come with new screws. I know that the ignition was the wrong cable or wrong plug on the end at least, so we fixed that up anyway. This didn't come with new Allen bolts, Allen screws, and this didn't come with the new tab either. Now the rest of the locks, which is the airbox, the electronics, and the toolbox, they do come with their own brand new nut and a carcellated washer, which is that washer right there. You can see it's carcellated, which is going to grip the inside of the metal housing. Once that's done, I'm going to roll the bike back into storage, and it's going to keep getting wet and keep getting dirty, and when this rain's all finally over, then I will just wash the bike, get rid of all the spider webs, and job's done. So let's keep going, and I'll show you what the rest of the locks are going to look like when we're finished. So, replacing this lock is actually not easy. Part of the problem is, if we look at the old one, see how in here that plastic is kind of worn away right in there?
Well, the new one doesn't have that, and that extra millimeter of this really hard plastic prevented me from locking it. So I'm going to get a file out and sort that out. Now this lock here I just replaced, and this is the old one. If you look carefully, you'll notice the tab. See how it's flat? Okay, let me get the brand new one. Notice how it's curved. Now that is a better design. However, this extra few millimeters stops it from clamping onto the end of the tab that's sticking out of the body here. So required a little bit of persuasion, and I'm expecting that the same thing's going to happen on the other side. Well folks, as I complete this job with the dulcet tones of my neighbour mowing his lawn, I've done it, and let me tell you, it's not easy. None of these locks were the same. They all needed fidgeting with. This one in particular, for the toolbox, I had to pull apart the old one because the way the locking arm fits on the original lock is actually 180 degrees out of phase, and you can't just turn it around because look, it's keyed a certain way. I tried to think about pulling this lock apart to be able to use this, at least the barrel, not so much the lock but the barrel on here. But anyway, I was able to make this fit, and what I did was I filed out a groove, because the other thing is, if we look here at the lock, it's keyed here. There's a little slot there and nothing on this side, it's just flat. And the way it goes into this, there's actually a slot here at the top and it's flat on the bottom, which this old lock fits in perfectly, but the other one fits in 180 degrees out of phase. Well, what happens is that the original lock, this sits here, turns this way to unlock it, and then you can pop the cover off. The replacement lock, this fits this way and turns that way. So basically, I had to modify my box, my toolbox, to make this fit. That concludes this video. Just goes to show you nothing is ever straightforward and easy, and obviously from the 2010 model that this is compared to the brand new ones, there has been some significant changes. Now the other thing is this lock kit. Now let me see if I can get a part number here. Part number at the top right there, 591781-A, common lock key set, classic 500. Now this particular part number is specifically made for the first classic 500s, which is what this is. Prior to that, it was the older engine. Okay, this was the first of the uni construction engine. This part number corresponds to this bike. We've cross-checked everything. We've looked at microfishes. We've looked at the Hitchcock's website, all that stuff, so on and so on and so on. And it just goes to show you that it still doesn't fit. So to recap all the issues I've had: fitting the toolbox lock, fail. Fitting the airbox and the electronics lock did not fit correctly because the profile on here is curved on the new ones. Fitting the battery box, the plastic does not fit correctly into the right spot. The only thing that fit nicely was the filler cap, and even that is a bit loose, but when it's on it's tight. It's just when it's undone, or opened I should say. And the other thing that was a complete failure was this ignition, where I had to resolder the old wires off the old ignition onto the new ignition there. So the part here in Australia, this box with all the ignition, all the barrels and the keys and the spare key, cost about 90 bucks Australian. If I was to buy it off Hitchcock's, it's about the same price including shipping. and if I was to buy it off eBay from India, it would cost about $75, saving me $15. To be honest, makes no difference because you're still going to be stuck with doing all of this garbage and modifying the bike or the locks to make them work. Thanks for watching.